traversed along, through so much fantastic territory. I'm sure we've missed something. We are sort of getting to the time where we kind of have to wrap up.
Well, one of the things in the book that we didn't talk about is other conditions associated with autism, such as ADHD.
Oh, brilliant. Could we talk about that?
ADHD and autism have a lot of crossover, both genetically, behaviorally, and on the brain scans. People get way too hung up on the labels.
Yeah.
And a lot of the treatments for ADHD and autism are similar. OCD can co-occur in autism. I hate the term comorbid. I think that's an awful medical word. I do not like to use that word. And then anxiety is another big issue. And I had terrible problems with anxiety, and I discuss it in my book, Thinking in Pictures. And I take antidepressant medication at really low dose. And it stopped the anxiety. It also cleared up some of the colitis I had because I was no longer in a constant state of anxiety. And I've had some genome scans done on me. And autism is a whole lot of little tiny code changes that are involved with what makes the brain big. It's embedded in the genome for giving humans a large brain. Now, genetics popped up on why my teeth are horrible, why my skin is horrible, why I had anxiety. That was much more simpler genetics. But my fear system was like on overdrive all the time for no reason. And that can be very debilitating. And this is where, medication, like a low dose of an antidepressant, can be helpful. But just yesterday, I was at an autism conference. I talked to a mom of a 5-year-old, and they were putting her kid on heavy-duty antipsychotic drugs, such as Risperidol, and she got her kid off of them. And I said, you did absolutely the right thing. I am appalled at the amount of medications that are handed out to young children like candy. And talk to a family where they might be on 6 different things. And when I asked them why they did that, I find out no thought went into it. They were just throwing drugs at problems.
This is trying to normalize, which is a huge mistake we have in our research, is to find what's, I sometimes sort of disparagingly say that we find out what 75% of the population do and then tell the other 25% they're crazy and either drug them or therapize them to death. But the normalness of a person is in the person. And in their capacities, you're saying right the way through this whole talk, Temple, this ability for them to function in a way that satisfies and is pleasing and is engaging for themselves.
Well, the other thing I want to bring up is the importance of mentors. I had great teachers, starting with my mother when I was very young, my speech teacher, my primary school teacher, Anne out at the ranch. I was reluctant to go to the ranch, and Mother gave me a choice. I could go for a week or I could go all summer. Mr. Carlock, my science teacher, who got me motivated to study, because now studying was a pathway to a goal. And then there was a very good contractor, a former Marine Corps captain named Jim Uhl, and he was starting a little construction business. And he had seen my drawings, and so he seeked me out. Now, I've had people say to me, why does Temple just talk about her own experiences? Well, I also talk about other people's experiences, but a visual thinker is a bottom-up thinker. I think in specific examples. Now, the little boy I told you about in the meeting, that's not me. But it's the opposite of verbal thinking, where you get a concept like autism, for example, where I'm seeing like different types of autism, but I see the specific examples and put them in like different categories on a spreadsheet. That is how I think.
Mm. And Debra, you've been doing a lot of nodding, and I noticed your mouth moving a little bit. So there's probably some things you want to add in there. I'd love to hear them.
It's more the general idea of how much we still have to learn and how much we miss and how much we make these assumptions about anyone who's different and doesn't fit the statistical norm. And it's just so frustrating. That's why my body can't stay still listening to this. If you think about how society has advanced, I would venture to say it's the great majority of the time, it's been on the backs of someone who is on the spectrum. Because those are folks who have brains that are wired in a way that they can let go of a lot of the other normal things that take up our time. They don't care about that so much. And they can persevere or get quote unquote fixated on special quote unquote interests and stay with that and focus. And often the ADHD is going along with it and helping that, not hurting it, but helping that. And they also have this out of the box thinking. So they don't just take a baby step in their thinking, they take a leap of faith because they don't care. And suddenly you have someone like Elon Musk taking, 4 civilians into space.
Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely right. I want to bring up another thing. My social life revolves around friends through shared interests. I was bullied in high school, and the only place I had friends was horseback riding friends, electronic lab friends, and model rocket club friends. And I recommend, get the kids involved in these. One teacher started a Star Wars club, and that helped her autistic kid who was a Star Wars fan to get friends. Yeah. But the other thing I want to finish up with is a brain can be more cognitive or thinking, or a brain can be more social emotional. Social emotional stuff eats up a ton of processor space. So you give up some social emotional circuits, and then you get circuits to do geek stuff. I totally geeked out on the latest SpaceX launch. When I went to the Science Museum, an aircraft company was there, and they had these super expensive hydraulic systems for airplanes they had on a table there. I had to geek out looking at that stuff.
Wow.
But this is where kids need to be exposed to enough things, like musical instruments, for example. I was exposed to theater. I didn't care about acting, but I made costumes and scenery in primary school, high school, and college. Yeah. But that was a place where I had shared interests. And I got bullied in college. And making sets and costumes and singing a silly song in a school variety show opened up a lot of friends for me, friends who shared interests.
Thank you for tuning in to the Science of Psychotherapy. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell so that we can reach more people and bring you more Science of Psychotherapy. And if you're a mental health professional, check us out at thescienceofpsychotherapy.com.